Allow me to reintroduce myself.
And the Hornets making the final preparations. New Orleans landed the Hornets in a fine Western Conference battle here at the New Orleans Arena. And here it comes, the NBA on 2K Sports for myself, Kevin Harlan, and my broadcast partners, Steve Kerr and Clark Kellogg. Welcome, everyone. You look at the Rockets. It's been a tremendous beginning to the new season. They are now 5-1.
You know, checking out the Rockets, they've made some nice strides, a good blend in terms of talent and experience, looking really confident to start this season.
Well, you've got to crawl before you can walk. And I'll tell you what, they're walking tall right now. This club playing with a ton of confidence.
A look at the opening lineup for the Houston Rockets. You've got Chandler Parsons. Howard is out there with Patrick Patterson. Then it's Harden, and it's Douglas in at the point. And for the Hornets, the machine, he's in at 3. Ryan Anderson is at the 4 with Anthony Davis at the 5. Bledsoe is out there with Gordon. So the Rockets win the bank scores.
Hello YouTube, this is the Sim Basketball Operator bringing you NBA 2K13 My Career commentary. And this commentary is coming after a 1-week hiatus. I'm sorry about that. I should try to schedule when I'm going to upload my videos. But it was just coming right after finals, so it was kind of a tough scheduling for me. Anyways, in this My Career game, we are going against the Houston Rockets. And keep in mind, this is my second season. So the Houston Rockets did sign Dwight Howard, which is interesting because this is one of the actual landing spots for Dwight Howard, or potential landing spots for Dwight Howard this offseason. It'll be quite a duo with James Harden and Dwight Howard. In this game, the Rockets actually have to start Tony Douglas because Jeremy Lin is injured. Usually they sign Chris Paul because they're one of the few teams with cap space. And what I find interesting is that 2K is not known for free agents going to where they might go in real life. So this is one of those rare occasions. In most cases, I see Dwight going to the Pistons or the Raptors. So this is quite new. And this brings me to the discussion of the 2013 offseason, which is what I'll be discussing in the majority of this commentary. And congratulations to the Miami Heat for beating the San Antonio Spurs. It was quite a series. I thought the Heat were just going to win in 5, but they ended up going to the 7 games. A very entertaining 7 games, actually more blowouts than I expected. But props to all the both teams for competing hard, adjusting, and in the end LeBron and his team was just too much. So since the 2013 offseason's underway, the NBA draft is this Wednesday, and the Cavaliers actually have the first pick in the draft, which is interesting because in my Cavaliers association, I had the 6th pick in the draft. I think I traded with the Boston Celtics for their pick, and there were a lot of the top prospects available. However, Otto Porter was the first overall pick because 2K's draft logic is screwed up, and so a whole bunch of small forwards that probably wouldn't be going that early came and gone by that point in time. And since the Cavaliers' biggest weakness is small forward, I had the dilemma that they face now, which is taking Nerlens Noel or Ben McLemore. Now, a lot of people think that because Dion Waiters is so ball dominant, that the most likely scenario is that they draft Ben McLemore and they could put Dion Waiters on the bench and become the primary ball handler for that second unit. Or they could just give up on the whole Tyler Zeller and draft Nerlens Noel. Now, NBA Draft.net, of their latest extended mock draft, has them taking Alex Len. And I think it's because there's some redundancy with Nerlens Noel and Tristan Thompson with the fact that they just both have no offensive game whatsoever. And so the first pick is so controversial that it just affects the whole rest of the order. Now, I think that if he is available, I think the Magic will end up taking Ben McLemore over Nerlens Noel in their situation because Nikola Vucevic has just become such a good player, and Aaron Flalo doesn't seem to figure into their future. And the Wizards, I'm pretty sure, are going to take Otto Porter because I think he'll be available unless for some reason the Cavaliers decide to go for need and take Otto Porter. But the Wizards will most likely get him and pick him up. He fits in very nicely with John Wall, and Bradley Beal. And so, but everything else is just up for grabs. So I'll continue discussing this. As you can see, after the end of the first half, the Hornets are down by 4 in this very high-scoring game against the Houston Rockets. And I'll see you after the halftime show.
And now, brought to you by Sprint.
Good evening out there, and welcome to 2K Sports.
Alright, so I'm back. So, we can talk more about the draft. I think that the teams that are most devoid of talent are actually in pretty good spots because this draft doesn't really have that franchise talent. So I'm really talking about the Charlotte Bobcats and the Phoenix Suns. Now, the Phoenix Suns have some talent, but it's on the upper side or just under 30. So that's Goran Dragic and Marcin Gortat, who I completely respect as players. They also have Luis Scola, and then they have a bunch of busts that came over from the Minnesota Timberwolves and Michael Beasley and Wesley Johnson. So they don't really have that much young talent. They also have Shannon Brown, who can be a real pain in the butt to watch sometimes. And so they'll probably take the best player available. I'm looking at more Anthony Bennett or Victor Oladipo. And now for the other team, the Charlotte Bobcats, I really liked what I saw of Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. He did only make the second team, but I think he can become a really solid starter. Kemba Walker's interesting because he's a scoring point guard, and he really is in charge of all their offense. So the jury is still out on him. But Anthony Bennett is a really solid option right here. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist and Anthony Bennett at the 3 and the 4 will be really undersized, but really athletic and get down the court. And they also have a lot of length to guard their respective positions because I think Anthony Bennett will eventually become a power forward. But the other option here is Alex Len. Now, Alex Len and Bismack Biyombo will be an interesting duo because I still have faith in Bismack. I think he become a very good defensive power forward. And so, by taking Anthony Bennett, I'd be giving up on him unless they win with the really undersized lineup. But Len shows the ability to develop some post moves and really pan out and have some success in this league. And so that'll be a nice combination there. Now with the 6th pick, I remember ESPN's original mock draft had Trey Burke going to the Orlando Magic just because it was their weakest position. But at this point in this ball game, I think that Trey Burke will eventually land to the Pelicans. Oh, excuse me for calling the Bobcats who they are because they're changing their name back to the Hornets. But I think Trey Burke will land with the Pelicans just because you cannot tell with Grievous Vasquez. Because personally, I hate playing with him in this my career mode. But he actually had a really good season with New Orleans. But I think that Trey Burke and Anthony Davis can really grow together and really step up. Now, obviously, Eric Gordon gets injured so much that you can't really tell what's up with him. I mean, it'd be a real reach to take a scorer like Shabazz Muhammad, but if Victor Oladipo is there, he and Anthony Davis can really set a defensive culture and really develop into a nice team. So that's set there. Now the Kings, and being from Seattle, I kind of find this situation interesting to see what we could have had. Now, props up to their fan base for keeping their team because while we failed not to do so with the Supersonics, I see some people, some of the ignorant people have Otto Porter falling to them. Some people have them taking Anthony Bennett if he's still available. Heck, some people even have them taking Trey Burke. Now, personally, I don't think Trey Burke is getting past the Pelicans, but if he does, this King should take him, roll with Burke, and then hopefully get Cousins into a competitive mindset because Burke is a very fierce competitor. And if that's not available, I think they should avoid taking Michael Carter-Williams. They already had Tyreek Evans, who's going to be a restricted free agent, and I think they should try to re-sign him. And so that's as far as I'm going to go with the NBA draft. Now, to quick thoughts on free agency, Chris Paul, I think, is staying. I really don't see a team with cap space and being able to contend where he can go somewhere and do some work, unless, of course, the rare occurrence that he and Horford and Dwight Howard team up in Atlanta. And personally, speaking of Atlanta, I think Josh Smith fits better with the Houston Rockets. I mean, even though they'll be giving up on their platoon of power forwards that includes Thomas Robinson and Terrence Jones, and of course Royce White. So I talked about the NBA for a while. I didn't talk about the gameplay at all. I had a pretty good game. I have to look at the box score to see my stat line, but Tony Douglas killed us this game. It's funny because he's kind of like the unsung hero here. He's the guy that you wouldn't think of when you saw this lineup of Harden, Parsons, Howard, and even Patterson, who was generously rated in this game. So 2K liked my performance, gave me 61 VC for just that, and I finished with 253 overall. We lose 118 to 110. And so yes, this is another loss for the New Orleans Hornets, who are still the Hornets in this game. And Tony Douglas, 28 points, 10 of 22 shooting, took the most shots. Harden, 25 points and 10 assists, nice game from him. Howard, 24 and 8, and Patterson, 14 and 8. And I held Chandler Parsons to 8 points, which is the first time in a while my opponent had less than had single digits in points. Now I finished with 36 points. Anthony Davis, 21, Eric Gordon, 20. That's what we can get used to seeing. Ryan Anderson, 12, but then no one else stepped up. We had some contributions due to my passing, and Eric Bledsoe finished with 9 assists as well. So we got a lot of people involved. It just wasn't enough, and we didn't play good enough defense. Anthony Davis had 9 rebounds. I had 7 of my own. I added 8 assists, and I also, I think, only finished with 2 turnovers, and I led the team in field goal percentage. So that's all good. So as you can see here, we lose. It was a close all the way. If you were paying attention to the gameplay, we only beat them in free throw percentage, number of blocks, which is astonishing because they have Dwight Howard. We fouled less, and we're also a slower paced team, which is interesting because we're such a young team, but I guess that's because I like to pound on the half court set. So yes, we're going to have an interesting press conference here, and I will actually return after this press conference. Be sure to leave what you think of this offseason because it could be really exciting or really dull. So I'll see you after the press conference.
Word has been getting around lately that you're on the verge of being traded. How much does that concern you?
It's been a little bit concerning, to be honest. I feel like this team's been put together to make a serious run at something special, and I'd like to think that I'm an important part of that. I mean, I love being here with this group of guys, and I want to see what we can do moving forward. So hopefully all that talk is just a bunch of crazy rumors, and we're able to keep this group intact, because we're a long way from the stretch run, and we still have a lot to prove.
You know that one commercial for, I think it's some kind of beer, that they call this one guy the most interesting man in the world? Well, I should be called the most interesting basketball player in the world. I mean, what kind of rookie of the year has trade rumors? I mean, Amino has trade rumors because he's just pissed that he's on the bench, but I mean, if you don't contribute anything, so I don't know what you're complaining about. But because of this team option on the rookie contract, I could potentially be traded. How come there's no decision on this yet? It should be obvious. I'm the rookie of the year. But anyways, we'll see as I talk to the GM about this. I was totally thrown off by this question. So see you in the next video.